Today I'm going to show you how to sew an easy beginner's chemo or medical port pillow. These wrap around the seatbelt for people receiving chemo or anything through a port in their chest area so that the seatbelt won't rub or snag against it and cause pain. If you're new here, aloha. I'm Heather. I design easy beginner sewing patterns that you can print at home so you can learn to sew absolutely anything by watching my tutorials. The sewing pattern for this project is linked below in the description box, and I'll also put it in the comments if you comment with anything. So after you've watched the sewing tutorial, print out the pattern, get your fabric, some scrap fabric, a 1/4 of yard or a fat quarter will work, some polyfill stuffing or the stuffing from an old pillow you're not using, and some hook and loop. You just need about 2 inches or so. And don't worry, you don't have to remember all of this right now. This information is also listed in that printable pattern. So let's go ahead and get started. My husband and I are actually both nurses, so I'm making a lot of these to donate to the cancer center at my husband's hospital. So I'm gonna cut out a bunch at the same time, but for this one, I'm gonna cut out enough to make 2. Layer 4 pieces of fabric right on top of each other and make sure the wrong side is facing up. Get your pattern piece and you're going to trace that right on top of the wrong side of one piece of the fabric on the top and then cut them all out at the same time. Out of this fabric that I had scraps of, cutting 4 means I have enough to make 2 port pillows. We only need 2 pieces cut out to make 1. So let me show you how to do that. Get your 2 pieces of fabric and lay them with the pretty sides of the fabric together. They should be kissing. Now you're going to pin or clip around the entire thing except for the bottom line down here at the bottom. You're going to leave that whole opening and not sew that area closed, so that way we can flip this right side out when we're done sewing this. Use a 1/4 inch seam allowance and go all the way around it. If you're a beginner sewer, let me show you how to do this. If you're a beginner sewer who's never sewn around corners before, go ahead and start sewing with a 1/4 inch seam allowance. You're going to start and stop with the back stitch, and then once you get about 1/4 of an inch away from the first corner, keep your needle inside your fabric, lift your presser foot, and then rotate the fabric the direction you want to sew in. Put your presser foot back down, and I like to keep the side of my sewing foot as the guide to match up to the side of my raw edges so that my sewing lines are nice and neat. Now go ahead and finish sewing all the way around this, just like I'm doing here, but remembering we are not sewing that bottom piece closed. Here's how it looks when it's sewn. You can see my stitches and how I went around the corners here. And I left this bottom not sewn so that I have a whole opening. The next thing you want to do is anytime you have corners, you want to go to each of them and clip your corners. You do this so that when you flip this right side out, you won't have a bunch of bulky fabric in the corners, so you won't be able to poke your corners out. The same goes for any inner corners, but except you want to go in and make a couple small slits right up to the stitches, but not cutting through your stitches. Now that you've done that, let's go ahead and go to that whole opening that we left at the bottom and flip this so that the fabric is right side out. You do not need a whole bunch of fancy tools to start sewing. I literally use a chopstick and I go in through the whole opening and I poke out my corners, making sure not to press too hard because you'll poke right through the seams, and then I smoothen out all of my seams. After I do that, I go ahead and press it flat with my iron. And then we're going to go ahead and start working on making the wings. On the sewing pattern, I put this guide there just to show you how to do it. But what you're going to do is get each of your side flaps and bring them inwards and make a fold. Press them flat with your iron so that you can make 2 lines that will act as your sewing guide marks. Then you'll take it to your sewing machine and top stitch those 2 lines, starting and stopping with a back stitch like I did here. After we've done that, we're ready to go ahead and attach our hook and loop pieces to the wings on the side. On your pattern piece, I did put a little guide so that you can just measure up your hook and loop piece right up to it, and you're just going to cut one. It should have a front and a back piece, so you'll have a rough side and a soft side. You want to have those sewn into place on this port pillow so that you can secure it closed. It does not matter if the rough side or the soft side goes on either side. we're just gonna put it right here like I'm doing now and pin or clip that in place. If you're a new sewer, I would recommend pinning it. Then fold your left wing down and place the other side of your hook and loop right on top of that, so that way when you close it, they'll secure together. If you have not sewn with hook and loop before, do not be intimidated. You just sew right along the edges all the way around in a rectangle. I'll show you real quick. I like to start sewing on the side, the longest side of my hook and loop piece. You're gonna go ahead and start sewing, make sure you backstitch, and then go to your corner and flip it around just like I showed you before. You're just gonna sew right along the outer edges of this entire rectangle, starting and stopping with a backstitch. Here's how it looks when you are finished sewing. I sewed all the way around the side of that rectangle. And then remember, you're going to also sew the other piece on the left flap, just like that. Side note, what fun sewing project would you use this fabric for? If you're new here, I choose people from the comments of every sewing tutorial video that I post, and I send them the fabric that I use in my video completely free, just as my thanks for showing me love by watching. So let's show each other some love today. Click subscribe and leave a comment below telling me what fun sewing project you would use this fabric for. Now we want to go ahead and get a little bit of polyfill stuffing or the stuffing from an old pillow you're not using and put it right through that hole opening at the bottom. You don't want to overfill this because if you do, it creates pressure on those chest port sites. So just fill it just a little bit, wiggle it around, and push it down away from your hole so that you can flip the raw edges inward just like I'm doing here. By putting your fingers inside and pulling that fabric apart, it will automatically flip them inwards, and then you're gonna line them up just like this and pin or clip this hole opening closed. After you do that, the only step that you have left is to sew a line across the bottom. And it's important to keep that polyfill stuffing or whatever stuffing you're using away from that hole opening so that you can fit it under your sewing machine. So right close to the edge, just like I did here, and you can hand stitch this closed if you want to so that you don't see that sewing line, but as you can see, it's not going to affect anything to show it. Now we're completely done, and if you are sewing these to gift or donate, I also include the little printable care card that I also made to go with this PDF that's printable, and it's linked down and below in the description box, or if you comment with anything, I'll also post it in the comment section too. And don't forget to please show me some love by clicking subscribe, like my video, and comment below what you would use this fabric for. I have hundreds of yards of fabric to destash, and there's no better way to do that than to spread the Aloha spirit and share it with those of you who are showing me love by watching my sewing tutorial videos. And before you go, mahalo.